Taoiseach, I want to acknowledge that today is a great day for the fossil fuel industry in this country, and in particular it's a great day for Providence Resources, who will just have had transferred into their bank account $10 million from APEC, their Chinese backer. So much for fuel security, that this country is doing deals with the Chinese. We always have a problem with Putin and the Arabs, but we don't ever mention the Chinese, and now we have $10 million and another 10 to come going into the bank account of Providence Resources to allow them to do research on the Barry Row project off the Cork coast. Today is not a good day for climate, and it's not a good day for biodiversity, it's not a good day for the melting of ice caps, and it's not a good day, according to Nature magazine, for the future of this planet, because not only do we have to leave 80% of known fossil fuels in the ground, Nature is now telling us that we may have to decommission many of the already existing infrastructure for the oil and gas industry in order to save the planet and life on it. But within that, we also find out that your office was lobbied by the industry, heavily lobbied by them last year. Lobbying increased 7 times. But it was lobbied earlier this year by the industry, and your office kept no record of that lobbying. The lobbyists thought it was lobbying, but you didn't think it was good enough to be lobbied, to be called lobbying. Now, I want to know from you, Taoiseach, and this is a very serious question, when did the meeting between Mr Purcell and Mr Carroll of your office take place? What was discussed? Because the timing of that meeting is really important. It's really important to me, and it's really important to the people of this country. It's really important to the 15,000 students that you have lied to. And I'm going to accuse you of lying, and I'll repeatedly say it, because the letter that was... I'm going to prove it. I'm going to prove it. I wouldn't do it.
I'm on my feet, Deputy Smith. You know full well there's enough accusations about this House, and I've heard this one, and I ask you to withdraw that the Taoiseach lied. Otherwise we will not continue.
OK, I'll withdraw and I'll call you told untruths. In writing, you told untruths.
You withdraw deliberately. Deliberately. You have to withdraw that, otherwise we cannot include. I'm not going to preside over this if accusations are made, and we'll deal with other ones.
Come here, last Count Corla. I want to finish my point. Will you let me finish it?
I'm asking you to withdraw deliberate lies.
You told deliberate mistruths to the Count Corla.
No. Untruths, you can do anything but not deliberate. Please withdraw. Now,
OK, you told untruths. You told untruths. We're getting into semantics now. The truth is, however... The truth is, however, that your department told the Count Corla that there was a money message needed on this bill because we would lose economic benefits to this country. Look at what was in the papers over the weekend. In the lifetime of Corrib, from 1992 till it dies in 2030, we will not have received a penny, not a penny, tax or royalties back to this state from the Corrib Basin. You also talked of the need to pay back the application fees to the companies if my bill passed. On the same day as I got the reasoned response from the department, I also got an answer to a PQ which says it is our policy never to pay back licence fees or their applications. 2 lies at least. And the third, two mistruths. The third one is that you were threatened with legal action. Which is why I'll repeat my question. It is important that the people know when that lobbying took place. Did it take place after this House, for the second time, in a democratic fashion, by an overwhelming majority, acknowledged that that bill should proceed to 3rd stage? The second time that we did that, and we find that it is again blocked by your government. When did that lobbying take place? It's a very straight answer. A very straight question.
Taoiseach, before you come in, I want to make it very clear that if one makes accusations about deliberate lies, then withdraws and then compounds it, is even worse. Yes. So I'm not going to accept that, and I think I speak for the vast majority of members of this House when it's not acceptable terminology in this House. And some of us are here a long, long time, and I would ask members, and I would ask Deputy Smith in this case, I take it on record that you have withdrawn it. Taoiseach, you've got 3 minutes.
know I'm perhaps not always the most civil person in this House myself, but I would hope we get to the point at some stage that it's possible for people to disagree with each other without accusing each other of being dishonest or of lying. But to answer some of the Deputy's questions.
Deputies, we're dealing with this question now. Deputy Michael Hilly-Ray, we're dealing with Deputy Smith's question.
To answer Deputy's questions, I'll ask Corla, the decision on whether or not the money message is required is one for the Ceann Comhairle, and the Ceann Comhairle can listen to the case made by the sponsor and also the case made by the government, and I respect the Ceann Comhairle's ability to listen to both sides of the argument and to make a decision, and the Ceann Comhairle has made that decision.
The Taoiseach without interruption.
In relation to the financial transaction that the Deputy refers to, I'm not familiar with that financial transaction. The government is not party to it. I really can't comment on it. What government wants is sensible climate action that actually reduces greenhouse gas emissions, climate action that gives us cleaner air, gives us warmer homes, creates the businesses and jobs of the future. What we don't want is climate action that's counterproductive, climate action that makes us poorer, climate action that makes us less secure, or climate action that costs people their jobs. And the difficulty that I have with the bill you're proposing is that it doesn't reduce greenhouse gas emissions at all, and that natural gas is a transitional fuel that we're going to continue to need to use for the decades ahead, and therefore it makes sense, makes sense to use our own natural gas if we have it. And that's why a ban on exploration is not part of the Paris Agreement. It's why it's not recommended by our own Climate Action Council, for example. But there is perhaps a third way, and that's something I'm giving some thought. In relation to your question on lobbying, I think it's important to put on the record of the House that lobbying is not a nefarious activity. It is part of democracy. We are all lobbied all the time, whether it's by trade unions, or whether it's by the IFA or IBEC or business organisations. And the reason why we have a lobbying act is so that it be registered. I checked on this today. There is no record of the meeting because there was no meeting in the Department of the Taoiseach between the two people you mentioned. What happened?
Listen, the Taoiseach without interruption. You may have another opportunity.
What happens, Deputy, is that the lobbyist in question asked my advisor to meet him for coffee. He didn't tell him what the reason for the meeting was. Over the coffee, he raised this issue, and he declared it in the lobbying register.
Thank you, Taoiseach.
That's the answer to your question.
Final 1 minute. 1 minute.
Well, I mean, I don't know how I'm going to use the language, but Fergal Purcell has certainly told an untruth, if that's the parliamentary language, because he has said on the lobbying register that he sought the meeting. He sought the meeting with Carol of your office.
Make allegations.
Look, if what the Taoiseach is saying is true, then what Fergal Purcell says has to be wrong, or at the very least untruth. He says he sought the meeting to provide information on the energy security, the transition to renewable energy, and the value to the industry in this economy in the context of the Climate Emergency Measures Bill. That's not a cup of coffee. He registered it on the lobbying register because he saw it as lobbying. Why did your office not see it as lobbying? Even if it was over a cup of coffee, tell us how long that cup of coffee took, when it took place, because clearly somebody is telling something that's not correct, because it's on the lobbying register as lobbying. And the point about all this is, Taoiseach, that there was a deliberate thwarting and blocking of this bill in order to do the bidding of the fossil fuel industry. And the evidence is in the 10 million in the bank this morning. There's the evidence for you. 10 million in the bank this morning. God knows when the next millions will go in. And in the meantime, despite the fact that you tried to deny it, there is no security in a planet where the temperatures will rise by between 2 and 4 degrees. No security whatsoever, despite your passionate determination to say that we need energy security in this country. No security on the planet, no security for the school children that stood outside screaming at you to keep it in the ground. That's what people want, keep it in the ground. And tonight they'll be outside the Dáil protest.
Deputy Smith. Taoiseach to respond.
Thanks, Deputy. The date was the 2nd of May 2019. I don't know how long it happened or how much the coffee cost or who paid for it, quite frankly. However, if the Deputy wishes to read the Lobbying Act, the Deputy will know that the Lobbying Act says that the obligation to declare whether lobbying occurred or not is on the lobbyist. All of us meet people all the time from all sorts of organisations and businesses. I bet none of us ever filled in a lobbying return because the obligation.
Deputy Smith, you got your opportunity. We're going to move on. Taoiseach, Deputy Smith. Deputy Smith.
Count Corley, you always know when somebody doesn't have a case, when they try to shout you down because they don't actually want the answers to their questions, because they know what they're saying
Deputy Smith, you're being argumentative.
It's untrue.
Taoiseach, without interruption.
The obligation where lobbying occurs, the obligation is always on the lobbyist, not on the person being lobbied to declare it. And if that's not the case, every deputy in this House must have a case to answer, because no person in this House has ever made a lobbying declaration, but I bet you everyone in this House has been lobbied at some time.
Deputy Smith, you're being totally disorderly. You know the rules of this House. You're being you can be angry, but you cannot be disorderly.
Why not? They go together.
They don't go together. Right, we'll move on, Deputy.